Aloha there. And we're into Serbia now. Talked a lot about calendars, there's still a lot more, but I figure we have a different change of pace. I know. I want to. But yeah, Serbia. It's always been a place that I'm always been curious about because of how it's not its own country, it's part of Russia. And then before that, it was part of the Soviet Union. And then before that, it was part of the Russian Empire. Which, for a big landmass of place, I do wonder what it encompasses. So Serbia, officially the Republic of Serbia, is a landlocked country in southeastern and central Europe, situated in the crossroads of the Balkan Basin and the Balkans. So yeah, pretty much you have. Uh, my mistake. I did the whole trickery thing that Serbia is supposed to be Siberia. Because what does I remember? Oh yeah, it was briefly that I actually looked at it, and I'm like, hey, let me actually look more into it. Outline of Serbia. Nah, actually, you know what? Let me see if it actually even points out under search. Siberia. Yeah, along with the Siberian tiger and stuff like that. Yeah, it's starting to make sense when I actually looked at this. I'm like, wait, is this a wiki about Croatia? But like, no, no, no. So yeah, that's like it's Siberia. So to not make a mistake I did with Serbia versus Siberia, remember that for Serbia it's SB versus Siberia it's SIB. So Siberia is an extensive geographical region composing all of North Asia, from the Ural Mountains in the west to the Pacific Ocean in the east. So yeah, looking through it, skimming till you got to the entomology section. Alrighty. It has formed part of the sovereign territory of Russia and its various predecessor states since the centuries long conquest of Siberia, which began with the fall of the Count of Serbia in the late 16th century and concluded with the annexation of Chokta, no, was it? Chokota in 1778. Siberia is vast and sparsely populated, covering an area of over 13.1 million square kilometers, but home to only 1/5 of Russia's population. The Vroshchevsky and Sheblin, Shelbinsk, what was it? Chelyabinsk or Chiblenix are the largest cities in the area. Because Siberia is a geographic and historical concept and not a political entity, there is no single precise definition of its territory borders. Traditionally, Siberia spans the entire expanse of land from the Ural Mountains to the Pacific Ocean, with the Ural Mountains usually forming the southernmost portion of the western boundary, and includes most of the drainage basin of the Arctic Ocean. It is further defined as stretching from the territories within the Arctic Circle in the north to the northern borders of Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and China in the south. So the Arctic Circle is pretty much is just here. So from the Arctic Circle, yeah, it touches Greenland, Canada, and yeah, Alaska. Along with here, you have rest of Russia, Finland, Sweden, and Norway, and that's pretty much it. For these islands, I keep on forgetting what they are part of, or was it just unclaimed territory along with the Arctic? Hmm. But yeah. Although the hills of north central Kazakhstan are also commonly included, the Russian government divides the region into three federal groupings of Russian federal subjects, of which only the central one is officially referred to as Siberian. The other two are the Ural and the Far Eastern Federal Districts, named for the Ural and Russian Far East regions that correspond respectively to the western and eastern thirds of Siberia in the broader sense. Siberia is known worldwide for its long, harsh winters with a January average of -25 degrees Celsius or -13 Fahrenheit. Although it is geographically situated in Asia, Russian sovereignty and colonization since the 16th century has rendered the region culturally and ethnically European. Over 85% of its population are of European descent, chiefly Russian, comprising the Siberian sub-ethnic group, and the Eastern Slavic cultural influences predominate. Predominate? Yeah, it's just predominate throughout the region. Nevertheless, there exist sizable ethnic minorities of Asian lineage, including various Turkic communities, many of which, such as the Yakuts, Tovans, Altis, and Khakas, are indigenous, along with the Mongolian Burats, ethnic Koreans, and smaller groups of Samotic and Tungus people, several of whom are classified as indigenous, small numbered people from the Russian Empire, among many others. Which also goes with the history of so many different ethnic groups living in the Russian territories it presides. Along with the Koreans, you have many of them that was in the general eastern of Manchuria, along with Vladivostok in the far and touching the Pacific. So you have entomology. Alright. So I might as well go here. You pretty much, yeah, I already pointed at that. Let me see what else I missed. Continental country, Asia, Russia, parts, Western Siberia, Central Siberia, Eastern Siberia, because it's three sectioned off. For the Eastern, it is specific. For the Western, it is just touching very close to Moscow. Somewhat. And then Central is just right in the middle. Was it Demani and Siberians? 1/5 of all Russians live in the territory of Siberia out of all this big thing, meaning 2/3 of them. Actually, no. So it's 1/5. So 4/5. Around way more than 2/3 live pretty much in the western parts. Or was it? Probably in the biggest cities in Russia, which is Moscow and St. Petersburg, which back then was called Leningrad. Was it Leningrad, Stalingrad, Leningrad, and then it was St. Petersburg. Where I'm going is from it being named during the late Soviet Union years, then World War II because of Stalin, then during Lenin's years, and then before with the Russian Empire, it was just called St. Petersburg. So yeah, etymology. The origin of the name is unknown. Some sources say that Siberia originates with the Siberian Tartar word for sleeping land. The modern usage of the name was recorded in the Russian language after the Russian conquest of Siberian Khanate. A further variant claims that the region was named after the Sai people. The Polish historian Szczepański has proposed that the name derives from the Proto-Slavic word for north, same as Serbia. Anatol Bolakov has dismissed this explanation. He said that the neighboring Chinese, Turks, and Mongolians, who had similar names for the region, would not have known Russian. He suggests that the name might be a combination of two words with Turkic origin: su, water, and wild land. Another account sees the name as the ancient tribal etymology of the Surtu, also Soifer, a Paleolithic ethnic group assimilated by the Nenets. Which is very interesting thinking about that, because if I'm thinking about the wording they said in etymology, Paleolithic ethnic group, then it's referring to there's a time that Siberia, way before any civilizations existed in human history, used to be a way different land than what it is today. Absolutely. But the fact that it might have been related to it being a wild land along with water, Serber, that does bring into the question, like, where would the water be? Because I mean, also take it that maybe this is also referring to wild lands that extend to the borders of the vast ocean or the water of the Arctic. But something I just had in my mind that I just wanted to put out is, and that was referring to the vastness of water that was accessible either by the weather. Because, I mean, it's even possible that the waters by the Arctic and Pacific was more accessible than what it is now, because it might have not been that cold for these people. Because what is it? The many ice age that happened for many Neanderthals and when the Homo sapiens came about didn't entirely impact the whole entire globe planet. Yeah, definitely when it came to Europe, but not in every single territory and such. That really does bring to the big question. But something I just wanted to look at is that, well, it does show that it is a lot more ancient than what people definitely have believed. And it goes to show that probably when it comes to learning the indigenous people that is in modern day Russian lands have a lot more history than what the public has known. Or maybe even the public don't wish for it to be known. I mean, this is probably the case because I was thinking of, like, was it the Tsar, one of his last things he wanted to do while he was being the emperor of Russia was to have a homogeneous society that everybody is ethnically Russian and not having so many groups just being lumped into its empire. But there could be several things. History. Prehistory. Okay. Pretty much have all this. Along with the early history, Russian Empire. Okay, then separated here. Okay, let me skim through the prehistory. Actually, yeah, that points out to it. Prehistory. The Siberian traps were formed by one of the largest known volcanic events of the last 251 million years of Earth's geological history. Their activity continued for a million years, and some scientists consider it a possible cause of the Great Dying about 250 million years ago. Estimated to have killed 90% of the species existing at that time. The region has paleological significance as it contains bodies of prehistoric animals from the Paleolithic epoch preserved in ice or in permafrost, specimens of goldfuss, cave lion cubs, Yucca the mammoth, and another woolly mammoth from Oregon, a woolly rhinoceros from the Coma, and bison and horses from the Yukon have been found. Remote Warago Island and the Tanner Peninsula are believed to have been the last places on Earth to support woolly mammoths as isolated populations until their extinction around 2000 BC. At least three species of human lived in southern Siberia around 40,000 years ago. H. sapiens, H. Neanderthalensis, and the Denisovans. I always have issues with that. Denisovans. In 2010, DNA evidence identified the last as a separate species. Late Paleolithic southern Siberians appear to be related to the Paleolithic Europeans and the Paleolithic Roman people of Japan. Ancient DNA analysis revealed that the oldest fossil known to carry the derived KITLGLA, which is responsible for blonde hair in modern Europeans, is a 17,000-year-old ancient northern Eurasian specimen from Siberia. Ancient northern Eurasian populations genetically similar to Mata Beret culture and Alfonso were an important genetic contributor to Native Americans, Europeans, ancient Central Asians, South Asians, and some East Asian groups, such as the Annual people. Evidence from full genomic studies suggests that the first people in the Americas diverged from ancient East Asians about 36,000 years ago and expanded northwards into Siberia, where they encountered and interacted with ancient North Eurasians, giving rise to both Paleo-Siberian peoples and ancient Native Americans, which later migrated toward the Oregon region, became isolated from other populations, and subsequently populated the Americas. So the region he's referring to has to do with around here, from Russia to Alaska, or Siberia's east to Alaska's west. And yeah, it's interesting to look at that. Oh yeah, before I forget, here's the picture. Horseman hunting with characteristic genital horse tromping, southern Siberia, 28 through 180 BCE, Hermitage Museum. This was made during the ancient times. And it's so interesting looking at how much they were capable during the latter years of before the Common Era. So yeah, like going through all this, learning about like Siberia and what it's being such a big mass, three parts of it being east, central, west, from all the way from the east to the western part of Russia's landmass. Oh yeah, let me actually get my pictures on frame. So yeah, and then showing that they have a huge history of so many people being part of Asia and then later the Americas, where with the history where many Native Americans have a lineage to either the Eskimos from up north of America or to the Polynesians from the southern peak of South America. It's just fascinating looking at that. So yeah, there's also this. I'm actually curious. Okay. The Malabara culture is an archaeological culture of the Upper Paleolithic from the Upper Andakara River in the area west of Lake. I'm just butchering all this. Irkutsk Oblast, Siberia, Russian Federation is located 90 kilometers to the northwest of Irkutsk. Alright. Along with, Alpronto Gora is a late Upper Paleolithic and Mesoamerican Siberian complex of archaeological sites located on the left bank of the Asian River near the city of Kornovskar, Russia. And it seems like they do have a collection of all these. So it's nice, thinking about that. That a lot of this is starting to uh be big enough that you could even talk to people like what I'm doing right now with just reading all this. So that actually makes me, yeah, excited that there's now a bunch of things I can look at and read about. All right, now here's the early history. One of the indigenous peoples. Yeah, just all this. You have the Russian Empire by mid 17th century. Okay. And you have further more like that. All right, I'll read this in its entirety. Early history. During past millennia, different groups of nomads, such as the Inets, the Nenets, the Huns, the Jinung, the Scythians, and the Yugur, inhabited various parts of Siberia. The Afro-Sovo and Tushka cultures of the Yansu Valley and Alps Mountains are associated with the Indo-European migrations across Eurasia. The Proto-Mongolian Kiev people also occupied parts of the region. In the 13th century, during the period of the Mongolian Empire, the Mongols conquered a large part of the area. With the breakup of the Golden Horde, the autonomous Count of Serbia formed in the late 15th century. Turkic-speaking Yaku migrated north from the Lake Bak region under pressure from the Mongol tribes during the 13th to 15th century. Siberia remained a sparsely populated area. Historian John F. Richards wrote, hmm, it is doubtful that the total early modern Siberian population exceeded 300,000 persons. End quote. Along with the Russian conquest of Siberia, the growing power of Russia in the West began to undermine the Siberian Khanate in the 16th century. First groups of traders and Cossacks began to enter the area. The Russian army was directed to establish forts farther and farther east to protect new Russian settlers who migrated from Europe. Towns such as Bangutsk, Tarayansk, and Tolsk developed, the last becoming the de facto capital of Siberia from 1590. At this time, Serbia was the name of the fortress of Kwashlik near Topsk. Garadas Mercator. What the hell is this? Oh, okay, he was a person. Sounds like a place, damn. When I heard Mercator, I was thinking of meteor. Okay. In a map published in 1595, marks Serbia both as the name of the settlement and the surrounding territory along a left tributary of the Alp. Other sources contend that the Saib and indigenous Tungish people offered fierce resistance to Russian expansion beyond the Urals. Some suggest that the term Siberia is a Russification of their ethnonymy. Ethnomy. 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 Alright. So yeah, let me go through here again. Kunishki, one of the many indigenous people of Siberia, representation of the Chukchi family by Louis Kors in 1816, showing them with their native attire and such. And this is just pretty much the people who lived around the time of the early 1800s. So around the time when the Napoleonic Wars was occurring. And it seems like around this time when Russia is pretty much going through the repercussions of Napoleon's invasion of Russia, that maybe they just didn't know what was going on. They were just living their life. Word tends to travel far. Even nowadays, when it comes to modern Siberia, where was it 1/5 of Russians, they tend to just mind their own business with what's going on in the Kremlin or in Moscow. So yeah, the early history. Eurasia, the Proto-Mongolian cared peoples of parts of the region, along with here, some different ethnic groups, the Siberian tribes were formed. So when it comes to its prehistory then to its early history, there is a big difference. And then, further on, you see the Russians' conquest under here. Now you have the Russian Empire going from here and there. Okay, this is pretty short. What the hell? Does he have a M83 woodland pattern? Doesn't even look like it was a knockoff. Well, obviously it's a knockoff when it comes to it not being an issued uniform. But the pattern, oh no, it's a pretty good copyright. It actually caught me off guard. There's a weird amount of pockets though that it's seems like those pockets are designed to be very heavy and such. Okay. So you have the Russian Empire, and the Soviet Union. Yeah, why not? Let me just complete this. Let me read this in its entirety. No, that's just this. By the mid 17th century, Russia has established areas of control that extended to the Pacific Ocean. Some 230,000 Russians have settled in Siberia by 1709. Siberia became one of the destinations by sending internal exiles. Exile was the main Russian punitive practice, with more than 800,000 people exiled during the 19th century. The first modern change in Siberian was the Trans-Siberian Railroad, constructed during 1891 through 1916. It linked Siberia most closely and rapidly industrializing Russia of Nicholas II. Around 7 million Russians moved to Siberia from Europe between 1801 and 1914. Between 1859 and 1917, more than 500,000 people migrated to the Russian Far East. Siberia has extensive natural resources during the 20th century, large-scale exploitation, and that's what it says, exploitation. Exploitation of these took place and industrial towns cropped up throughout the region. At 7:15 a.m. on 30th June 1908, the Tunguska event fell millions of trees near the Pomashka and Tungusk stony cones in central Siberia. Most scientists believe this resulted from the air burst of the meteor or a comet. Even though no crater has been found, the landscape in the sparsely inhabited area still bears the scars of this event. Now, this is just referring to the fact that there was a huge devastation, naturally devastation from, you can say naturally from like the aerial sky going downwards, like from a asteroid going down to a meteor and creating a meteorite destruction that is in that area. Yet they can't find the meteor or the part of the comet. And it being 1908, it was not documented at being seen, besides first-hand accounts from the many locals that lived there, mainly the natives. But yeah, it's a strange event that is interesting. So yeah, the Tunguska was approximately 12 megaton explosion that occurred near the Plonsk River in Yosk, Gorna, Russia. I actually want to skim through this. Yeah, I already went through all here. So, the Russian Empire coat of arms of Siberia, which was a part of the Russian Imperial coat of arms until 1917 when they turned to the Soviet Union. They have these nice animals. It's cute. And the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Map of the Siberian route in the 18th century green and the early 19th century red. So you could see how it expands, and the red of what it further expanded. It tried to reach all the way to China, Manchuria, Mongolia, or what is modern day parts. But I think these were disputed territories back then. Because I do know that back around this time there was not a Mongolia, the country. But yeah, I think this is to show how modern day it represents. Now the Tunskin events. Alrighty. I'll save this next time because I just took the time. Well, I'll be back from here. Further ado. Well, further ado. Aloha.